Hello, and thank you for joining us. So today we want to talk about tourism as a business. And you as all know, tourism is one of the major contributors to the country's GDP. We're asking, how much is the region contributing to that? So today our focus is about harnessing the economic value of tourism, sports, arts and culture. And before we do that, I want to introduce my panel. And today we're honored to be, graced by the Minister for Tourism, Sports, Arts and Culture for Kisumu County.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you.
And you're looking amazing.
Thank you. So are you. Thank you.
And my co-host Philip Pande as well. So without much ado, we want to just get right onto it.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us, what is in Kisumu that people can, come and check out?
I think I'd start with, where do we want to take Kisumu?
Yes.
As a government under the Governor, Professor Nyong'o, we have won a bid to host Africities. Now, Africities is an international event that deals with African cities, the whole area of urbanization and how do cities transform so the quality of life for their residents is healthy, how do they reach amenities, and all of that. How do you shape new growing cities? So Kisumu won this bid in November last year to host the event in November 2021. Now that looks a long way away. It isn't.
Did you pitch for it?
Yes, we did. We pitched for it at the last conference in Morocco.
Oh, nice.
And in order to host such an event, His Excellency the President must endorse it, must give his letter of recommendation to say, yes, Kenya will host it. So in effect, Kenya is hosting Africities. It just happens to be, it's going to be in Kisumu.
Wow.
Now with that is where Kisumu is going. We've got to be ready to host 10,000 guests. Maybe 6,000 international guests, and then 4,000 local residents of the Republic of Kenya. All in all, where are we going to find beds?
Yeah.
What are they going to do when they come
here?
here?
My next question was going to be, are we ready for this?
Yeah. No, we're not, but we will be. We've got a few years, 2.5, to get this going, and we are very much on track. We've had meetings with the national government, who are part of the committee, together with a team set up by Professor Nyong'o here in Kisumu, and together we're working on the planning and logistics for this event. One of the key things we're going to do is we have to build a convention center, which is something Kisumu has always needed. Not just Kisumu, Kisumu and the region. I mean, from pretty much Naivasha, Nakuru, coming up this way to the western part of Kenya, going up north to Turkana and down south to the Mara, we don't have 3,000, 5,000, a 5,000 strong convention center. So this gives us an opportunity to invest in that, and we're hoping we'll be able to do that on the grounds of the Sunset Hotel, but that is still in discussion. That means infrastructure. Needs are going to have to go up. We're going to have hotels to host this. Now, even as Kisumu is the hub and the gateway to the region, this conference, yes, it will be housed principally in Kisumu, but it's going to go out. Accommodation will spread out into the 14 counties. And this is what devolution is wonderful at. It allows different regions of the country to get attention. So there is also the need for hotels and restaurants. And so we're looking for investors, people who are interested, who can see that business opportunity. The catalyst is, if there is a convention center in Kisumu, a lot of conferences will come. And it's not just Africities. We become a hub for business tourism or conference tiering. Oh, I forget the word. But the bottom line is we open up that whole space. And that's what we're excited about.
Nice. Good stuff.
Yeah. Quite interesting about Africity there and what devolution is harnessing about tourism.
Sure.
So just to break it down, Waziri, in 2017 alone, tourism and travel contributed up to 294 billion to the GDP of our country, and about 430,000 jobs created in the same sector. In Kisumu, what are we looking at? How much do you want to create and how do you want to harness tourism? And what is your department doing, for example, in tourism, sports, art and culture, to support this and to harness on these job opportunities?
Okay, let me start with sports, if I may.
Please.
Under the Governor's Manifesto, nurturing of sporting talent is Agenda 1. Identifying them, nurturing them, and then developing them.
And that's what you do with the Kisumu All-Stars?
The talent search as well?
Yes, so in terms of the sports, yes, Kisumu All-Stars is an example, and that's in football, where we went out into the 7 sub-counties that make up Kisumu, and we scouted for talent. And they they went through trials, and then we came up with this club, which at the moment is number 4 on the NSL, the National Super League, and the guys are gunning to be in the Premier League.
Oh, nice.
And yes, we hope to, and we're very excited, and they are so passionate about what they do. So that's it, you go out and you identify. We did other things like Opich Pacho, which is another football tournament in collaboration with Kenya Breweries.
Opich Pacho is that's in Luo.
Yeah.
In Swahili it means the local football.
The local football,
mpira ya
mashinani,
nice.
etc.
mashinani, mashinani.
So we did that with Kenya Breweries, who are new into the region as well, now that they've opened up this new plant of theirs. And we worked again on that, going out into the sub-counties, identifying talent. So that's on sports. But what do you do once you've identified the talent? What are the facilities like? And so we are purposed at reviving the stadium and building a substantive stadium that will we would all be proud of, that will again harness for the region, not just for Kisumu, for the wider region. We're looking at a substantive development.
What capacity could you be looking at?
We're looking at 20,000. And we do recognize that many counties around us also have their stadiums, and we'll be investing on that. But we're looking to really have the 3 cities, Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu, had been tasked by the national government to come up with substantive stadiums. So that process is ongoing. We've recently awarded a consultant to help us with shaping that for us. So we hope to break ground before, in the course of June this year, and then construction for about 2 years. So do up the infrastructure, and not just here in the city, go out into the sub-counties and work on the hockey pitches, work on the stadiums, which are in decline and haven't been addressed. So that's in the space of sport. Let me jump into the arts and nurturing that.
Yeah.
Lupita Nyong'o comes from this region.
Yeah.
We premiered her movie, her private screening last year in February. In fact, I'll be going to premiere the Us movie that's just coming out this evening. And we have, in the course of my first year in administration, identified that actually this region is the granary of this talent, of the arts, and in different genres as well. For example, right now we are running a 10-week program in the 7 sub-counties called the I Am Kisumu Talent Search. It is vaguely shaped around the Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent initiative. Now we're taking it out to the people, because the public response to me last year, towards the end of the year, was great. The department is alive and it's doing good,
Clearly.
but can you please come out into the sub-counties? So this is how we've addressed it. Go out, identify them. Every weekend we're out doing a different location, and then everybody will come to the Grand Swiss Hotel for the grand finale. After that, what do you do with the talent? We've got to identify the mentors and the trainers who are going to help these kids grow, harness them as business people, harness them in public speaking, harness their craft, whatever it is.
Nice, because my next question was just going to be, how are you preparing them then for investment? Because we have a lot of investors out there looking to invest in the creatives and tourism, but the problem has always been the people are not investor ready.
Yeah, where are the businesses? Where are the businesses in arts, and how are we converting talent into real entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
Well, Kisumu government is coming up with entrepreneurial hubs.
Yeah.
People like yourselves who are focusing in the business space of entrepreneurship will be part of that. Because I think the region, whereas yes, we have all this talent, as you rightfully said, what do you do? How do they get the training and the learning? And again, private sector will have to jump in, because government does so much and only so much. Then the private sector comes in, like yourselves. How do you now take the talent? We're also in conversations, and I think something is going on, but that's in another ministry, with the Youth Fund. They also give substantive amount of money. But do the public access this money? Has always been the question. I mean, you cannot lead, you can only lead somebody to the water, but you can't make them drink.
Exactly.
So the public also have to, and are doing that. They're becoming more attuned to that, feeling that the environment in Kisumu is interested in their needs as consumers and as residents. So we're creating these hubs, and this will be coming in the course of this administration. Yes, people need that attention, and yes, private sector will have to get involved. Let me jump into the other sector I look after, which is tourism. Now, tourism, we've got the lake, and that lake hasn't been fully harnessed. The blue economy is a conversation that's going on, and there's a lot of work coming through after the big conference that was held in Nairobi, the global conference on the blue economy. And recently, the national government as well as the county government has gone into a collaboration with an entity to help dredge that lake. But first, get rid of the hyacinth. And so that is a concerted effort with the national government to clean up that lake. Once cleaned up, what are we going to do with it? Now in the area of sports and tourism, that lake is then open for sports tourism, boat racing, and
So
etc.
water sports and
Water
stuff?
sports, which hasn't happened really. There's the local boat racing, but once hyacinth comes in, then you're stuck. So
But
boat
there are people
racing.
also using the hyacinth to make attractive stuff.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, actually,
Yes.
tradable products. For example, last I think like a few couple of weeks, you had the Devolution conference
Correct.
in Kirinyaga, and you had an opportunity to showcase some of these things that are made out of water hyacinth.
Yeah.
So while water hyacinth is a menace, it's something that we want to get rid of. How much value are we giving that? I'm sure that is in the trade and perhaps business and industry. But going to the issue of sports and lake tourism, you remember, for example, those who understand Kisumu properly will tell you that there was at some point the MV Victoria, which was a great thing for the East African community. And some people like dignitaries, we know Mudi Awori, for example, had his honeymoon in the MV Victoria. Are we going back to the MV Victoria era? Are you bringing something different from the MV Victoria?
As a government, we're looking at opening up maritime transportation, which over the many decades past has been lagging. There's been no attention. Thank God for devolution. It allows local governments to take charge of the assets that they have. So that is a conversation that is happening through the Ministry of Transport. And the minister together with the governor there are concerned with, once that lake is cleaned out of hyacinth, once we've dredged it, how can we enable inter-country trade? Yeah, how can we go to Tanzania and to Uganda and to Rwanda and to Burundi, the countries of the lake? So that is very much part of that docket and what they're planning to do. I want to touch on the hyacinth, and you said it is part of trade. It is also very much part of tourism. People come from different places around the world to go and see new stuff. So we took one gentleman, for example, who's an entrepreneur in Kisumu, to Paris, and he showcased his work. And we've also introduced him to UNEP. Again, in the environment space, and he showcased his work. For the Devolution Conference, we took a totally different group to, it was called the Women in, I forget, WIFIP, that was the name.
In the fishing industry.
In the fishing industry project, yes, Women in Fishing Industry Project. And again, we took them out, and that got so much attention. Now, while it is a menace, some people are creative, and they are using that opportunity to create businesses,
Which is
furniture.
very creative.
Yeah, it is. But then again, it goes to how are we helping them harness their entrepreneurial skills? So
Exactly.
people like
How
your
do they
good
make
self come
value-added
out.
products and make quality products and
Yeah.
charge price?
And to be quite honest, they were fantastic.
Yeah.
But the products we saw were amazing. And people are tired of same old, same old. Yeah, you want to have different things in and around your life.
Okay. So Kisumu has the international airport.
Yes.
7 flights
Yes.
every day.
Yes.
And then it's also the gateway to the Western Kenya
Yes.
and the Lake region. So how do you transition this from just being a stopover to a
Yes.
destination?
Right.
Yeah.
One of the challenges we have in Kisumu and this region is that the airport is called Kisumu International Airport, but yet no international flights come
Not
through.
have a single flight to the East African community.
Actually, I'll correct that. Last year we hosted, Kisumu hosted the Africa Chess Championships. And the chess championships was
Here,
for...
the Grand Race.
That's right. And we had children from 32 different African countries come and compete at the championships. We then had the Deputy Prime Minister of Russia fly an international flight from Russia to the Middle East and then the Middle East to Kisumu. No stopover in Nairobi. And right now, as we speak, we've been in conversation with the Kenya Airports Authority, and as we speak right now, the airport is half closed because they are lengthening and strengthening the runway. We want to introduce cargo. We're working with them on that. They have that mandate so that this area opens up. And again, in time for Africities, it'll be fantastic so that we can receive international flights. But Africities or no Africities, the whole of this region should be receiving. Mombasa has just done that. They're now receiving quite a few international flights come in, and Kisumu does not want to be left behind. So we're very excited that that allows Kisumu to take its position as a destination. You asked the question, stopover versus destination. I think for many years Kisumu was a stopover.
Exactly.
You stopped here on your way to somewhere else, usually on the way to your village.
Yeah.
Are we still just stopping?
No, we want to shape
here?
this into a destination, and hence, you know, so long as we have our lake open, people can come here for water sports, for water activities. We're working hard in the creative arts space so that films can be produced here. We're working very closely with the Kenya Film Classification Board. They're coming up with an initiative called Cinema Mashinani, which will be piloted out of Kisumu. How you
wonderful.
create movies, and then so that people can use Kenyan content to watch instead of Bollywood, Hollywood,
Exactly.
and Nollywood. So again, if there's stuff to do, if the film industry can see stuff that's going on in Kisumu, they'll come here. People will come and watch movies. People are curious about Kit Mikayi. We are hoping to have that accredited as a World Heritage Site. And things like Dunga Beach, right at the top there, we're going to put some money as the government this financial year to develop it and have a restaurant and clean up the area. We're looking at Abindu Caves, and then on to Kakamega, Vihiga, Busia, and all the other lake region counties. So not just a stopover, but shaping it to be a destination. Yeah.
Is there like a signature product for Kisumu? I mean, it's famous for fish
Yeah.
and stuff. Is there something signature for Kisumu?
At the moment, we're working very closely with Kenya Tourism Board, where counties have been tasked to come up with top experience products and signature products. So I would say something like sunsets is something we want to package,
Yeah.
because people come here a lot for these
Yeah,
sunsets.
people watch that almost every day.
Every
and
day.
then
We in Kisumu just enjoy it anyway, but people want to travel to do photography and shape themselves around it's a whole industry in itself, sunset photography. We also are interested in our fish. We know that it doesn't matter which conference is hosted here. People always ask, where can I go and get great fish? So again, we're encouraging restaurateurs to come and open up and allow this to take off as a city which is vibrant and exciting for anybody to come and enjoy.
Okay, talk about the human capital behind all these tourism products and services. Yeah, so in as much as we have entrepreneurs investing, but the people who will, like the tour guides, the people working in the hospitality sector, is the industry preparing those, especially from Kisumu, to administer these services professionally?
Yeah, I think I don't even look at it as Kisumu only, I look at it as Kenya.
Yeah.
Kenya's revamping its whole tourism hospitality space. Kenya Utalii College is here, and we are trying to attract
They
them.
set up.
Yes, they exist already in Kisumu, but they want to put up a substantive college. So we're in conversations around that, because again, it is for the region. It is for this region, so that we have the same quality of professionalism right across. The other day I met with tour guides who operate along the lake, and they have their beach management units, and there are many, and they're skilled and they're able. So again, how do you shape it so that there's consistency of message? So again, working with Utalii, this is the governor's 1.5 year in the administration. And so those are the things that my docket is supposed to shape, and we are working closely with the different state corporations to make that happen. Lastly, I'd like to say that Kisumu and the Lake region has suffered because we never had one association that looks after the region, one tourism association. Coast has Coast Tourism Association. And this region, like Kisumu alone, had 3 or 4. So the national government cannot work with 3 or 4.
Exactly.
There needs to be one body that represents the voice of the 15, 14 counties of the region. So that is a conversation that's going on. In a week's time. There's going to be a familiarization tour,
How are
which
you
is
gonna
being...
call it?
That familiarization tour is called the familiarization tour
the
of the Western
association.
sector.
Association
Oh,
for
I
the
will leave that to the private sector.
Okay.
The private, that's their role. I come in as government. That's their role. They need to, the ministers of the 14 counties are aware, but private sector have to lead this.
Yes.
We can't dictate. So now we've got the hoteliers that have come together with We Western Association. We Western Association, and they've put together their voice and their thoughts, and they're coming up, and they have come up with a name. They've come up with a fantastic website which they're populating, and they're beginning with this farm tour that's going to begin first week of April, from the 2nd to the 6th, I think it is. Attracting bloggers, media personalities, government, private sector, hoteliers, tour guides, anybody in this space that's going to help to open up this conversation for this region. So that's exciting, that's new. But that again, being led by the private sector with the government behind them to support.
Cool.
Very well. So much there, Waziri. A world-class standard stadium coming for Kisumu, opening up the lakefront for tourism and business.
Correct.
preparing for Africities, making an association for tourism as a sector in the Western Kenya region, and so much more that is cooking in your port this time.
Yes.
And we are hoping to see much more action. Of course, also opening the Kisumu International Airport for
absolutely
foreign and direct flights into our country, and Kisumu in this aspect. So we thank you for contributing to this, and thank you for making time for this discussion. We hope to have the same conversation and take it to another level next time. Hopefully you bring us more guests from the Western Kenya, and of course the 14 Lake region counties.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you.
Well, that's the end of the show, and thank you so much for joining us once again. In case you're wondering where we were streaming live from, this is the Grand Royal Swiss Hotel that is actually based along Kakamega Road, just off Kisumu town. It's a very nice place, you know, if you just want to have your business meetings and events and things like that. Everything is a royal treat, so please make a point to visit this place. Feel free to email us at businessfridays@winamcapital.co.ke and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Until next time, it's a wrap and see you again.